Alright, welcome back to another episode of Art Time, where today we're going to be drawing a landscape and scenery drawing of this thing that I've made a long time ago, way back in high school. Granted, this wasn't what I made, but there was a bunch of creations and creatures and things and whatnot that were a part of this particular universe. Welcome to Criteria, the biggest planet in all the known universes, and the most dangerous as well. This is a planet that I made long ago. I only had 70 creations made it, and it was in a little notebook, and I didn't really fill it up, but that's fine, because there was a few things notebook-wise that I was, that I found looking for the Criteria book. And I will talk about them in a bit. But, I don't recall if I said this already, but I'll say it again just in case. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like and subscribe for more. So, Criteria is this planet, ginormous, very dangerous, and has a lot of creatures on it. And it also has a lot more things to it as well. Right now, we just have the basic, bare-bones, kind of, plains-esque area. There's ruins and whatnot in some areas, and there's also, of course, some magical components, as well as sci-fi components found within here, alongside maybe a little bit of the macabre and horror components. So, it was pretty much everything. And funny enough, when I was looking through these creations of mine, there were several things that I have done beforehand that apparently I had kind of repeated for, DeviantArt at least, somehow. And it's different, but, it's not like the same thing. I gotta explain to you at least one of them. This one is more so just, similar to the Demon Realm with showing all the regions and the demons that reside within them. This one has a whole bunch of creatures. And some of the creatures are also demons, but not all of them. It's, it's just the undead, I guess, is probably the one you would call. But I digress. So, aside from that, I found a horror book that I made. A horror book, mock brand horror. That was basically just showcasing classes of creatures or entities, whatever the hell I called them before. And I was like, weird. I already did Reginald's Macabre cases without even realizing that I was technically doing Reginald's Macabre cases, but that wouldn't make any sense because this came first, so Reginald's Macabre cases picked up where that last left off, which was interesting to say the least. Not to say that I weren't making, macabre and horror-based drawings before Reginald's Macabre cases, but, in terms of, something similar, describing the entity and the creature, and all that stuff. Not, going into full details, because I only have, one notebook's length worth, but, regardless, I did a repeat there, but this repeat is more, professional instead of the other one. Despite the fact that the beginning drawings that I've done weren't really as good as the ones that are currently. Like that eviscerating doll drawing that I did not too long ago. So yeah, this is Criteria. And it's one of the series that I have made. I had, a strange combination of pasta-based stuff, so I'm going to be a little bit congested. Don't know if that's the right word, but it's fine. Anyways, as I was saying, when I was making this in school, it was basically just, just some random thing that I did. Not really too much to talk about. I believe I had a map somewhere, or at least a crudely drawn map at the time. Because it wasn't really, that bad in terms of, creating stuff. The map was, one of the more lower points, because it was just basically showing where the areas are and what the basic instances look like. Because I have some pretty complex background stuff. For some reason, the map there that I remember looked weird in my head. I haven't found it yet. I only found the one with the book and all the creatures in it. But that's fine. And now that, like, our skills have improved tenfold and going on Photoshop and whatnot, I feel like I'll be able to make most of these things in a much better light, so to speak. What you doing, cat? She's twitching her tail on my shoulder, or arm, whatever that is. So, I don't know how many people from the high school days are watching this video, but this name Criteria, or at least like a very small handful of people probably know what that is. Because a few of them are actually demonic entities in the book. Because I vaguely remember them asking me to, you know, make a, what do you call it, version of them in the book. Like, I don't exactly remember the conversation, but I do vaguely remember them being like, oh, make me as one of the creatures or the demons here or something or another. And I did. And when I looked back at them, I thought, huh, you know, these things look completely different enough to where they can actually be their own thing in this drawing, at least. Which is good, because I can still at least draw some of them. Which is always good to have, to just try to keep things relatively consistent. I don't know how many creatures I have drawn for the particular area, which is the plains here. I don't really know. I am uncertain. I'm not entirely too sure, but I guess it's fun. Because I'm going to be adding more here anyways, if I don't have a bunch. Alright, so, not much else outside of that to discuss about. Like, there's a few things here, but those are things I keep to myself, since it's more so meant to be a little bit more of a secret until the day I can actually finally make something with it. But it's fine. I'm just looking back through most of the creations that I've made, and I've seen, like, kind of connection with what I've made currently on Photoshop and for DeviantArt. Noticing that, like, everything kind of just comes around in a full circle. Only this time around it's more professional and it's more consistent. So now it's not like, you know, one-offs or anything. But I guess it's good, though, because it's good to be able to at least revamp what you've made before in the past, you know? Oh, and if you're wondering why this is already shaded in texture, and you're right, it's already shaded in texture. I don't know what I was trying to say there. It's easier to just have to go through all of this, shade it in like so, and then be done with it. Like what I did with most of these. Some of these I can still kind of do a once-over if I need to, like, make some of them a little bit darker, but that's fine. I might combine some of those, because the what do you call it? The folder that I have for this stuff is pretty freaking big. Really, cat? Really, cat? Anyways, this is a Titan village. If I remember, that's how it's spelled. Or said. Wow, I gotta scroll through so much. Yep, Titan village. This is the weaker species in this area who gets killed off by, I think, a bass bee. These things are giant and the same size as a small hut. So a bass bee would be like this big, at least. Not like the whole hut. It'd be like head here, body here, stinger here. They're huge. They're giant wasp-like creatures with a mouth and fangs, of course. But the Titans are basically just humans. At least one part of humans. Because there's 3 different types of humanoid species. One lives in the desert, over here. One lives in the jungles, back here. And one lives in the tundras, over here. The tundra ones are more sci-fi oriented. The jungle ones are reptilian, and the desert ones are more, I guess, Arabic, Mexican, anything that basically lives in the sand. I can't think of anything else. Wearing, thick, cool clothing. Like the sand people from Star Wars, I guess, except more actual humanoids and actually maybe have... Well, I don't know about that one. They might not have humanoid faces. I haven't really read too much into that one. All I know is that they had, like, thick clothing on, followed by, at the very least, a mask. There's only one that I drew anyway, so it doesn't exactly matter. There's multiple. But I've only drawn one. Regardless, it's 4 humanoid creatures. And the ones we're drawing right now, I guess, are the more primitive ones, made of wood and stone. Or their houses are made of wood and stone. So they got like wood interior here with the stone cobblestone on the outside over in this particular area over here. Which is great. Decoration-wise, they got a nice, little area here. And of course, there's the, primitive aspect. So they're not exactly like advanced creatures. How do they survive out here in the plains? Good question. They build their homes away from the bass bee nest. And this is pretty far, as you can see. Still close, but, far enough away to where, so long as they don't go close to the bass bee's territory, because I think most they would probably go, at least right over to here, and over to here at least, maybe. They'd be good, like, around here and whatever's back here, unless there's another bass bee nest. They make their nests in ginormous trees, but I don't think I, stated that before. Probably didn't. It's been a while since I have, looked into that, and I only just recently read it, and I didn't retain any of the information. I would say case in point, but only I know this occurred. The fact that I didn't put the cobblestone here in the first place, it was basically just wood and the hay up top. But now we have the stone there. Which, again, to you guys, it was always there to begin with, but to me, that was added later. So, yeah, in other words, the Titans are primitive humanoid species who thrive within the plains and are the weakest amongst most of the well-known creatures, but they're still, at the very least, surviving out here, hunting, gathering food, farming, and whatnot. Although I don't think this one's a farming village. It has an outpost here. You can see by the 3 towers. So, yeah, I would say that these guys are kind of just low-tier humans. Or humanoids. Can't really call them humans, because they're not necessarily part of our species. They're similar to our species. 5 to 6 foot, and none are smaller than that. But they are not humans. They're humanoid creatures. Will they have the same language? For our own convenience's sake, yes. They'll probably speak in a different language entirely from English. Regardless, these guys are simple creatures. Hunting, gathering, fighting against the giant wasps. All sorts of things that try to not die in this world of Criteria. Which is, it's an insane thing to do. Survive in a place like this. I feel like us normal people would probably not have too many issues because we got guns. I'd imagine a gun would be able to, if we have armor penetrating rounds, we could just pierce through the bass bees' shells and murder them. Gotta be careful of the magma spit, though. If I remember correctly, they spat magma. That's right. These wasp-like creatures that live in a tree spits magma. Although I don't know exactly if magma would completely start a fire by itself. It's heated liquid, right? So if it's set up in a way where it's not too close to the tree, it theoretically shouldn't burn a tree down, right? Just, heat it up. And if it doesn't, cool down in time, if it stays stagnant and constantly refilling in the magma department, or there's just more magma, then the tree would then probably burn down. Regardless, I don't think that really matters that much for the Baspies. Especially in an area where there's not a crap ton of trees. Yes, we do see a lot of trees here, but this is not a lot when you get right down to it. See a lot of berry bushes and a lot of stone out there. You could probably burn down a bunch of berry bushes at least, and grass. Hard to say, really. Would a fire spread that far out in an area where there's probably a lot of moisture? Hence the lake nearby? I'm not sure. Good question. I'm not really adept in the scientific knowledge of how fire works. All I know is keep fire away from flammable sources of objects or whatever. Other than that, I don't know the innate science behind fire. Well, outside of fire need oxygen to burn, and it needs a fuel source, of course. Point of ignition as well. Other than that, I don't know. Fires are tricky things, and if you don't have the knowledge on hand, even if you do but you forgot about it because it's hard to retain information sometimes after some time of not really thinking about it, then you're going to have a hard time trying to remember. At least the more advanced scientific reasons. The only thing you need to realize, or only thing you need to know about fire is dry area is bad. Don't go near flammable sources with fire. And a few other things. I'm making a strong case for trying to figure out what fire is, aren't I? Well, I'm sure you're smart enough. I'm too tired to try to figure this out again. Besides, my brain is in off mode right now, where I'm just subconsciously going through this shading and texturing and doing what I need to do. So my brain is not working right now, and that's fine. It doesn't need to work right now, because we're supposed to... It's funny. Technically, we're supposed to entertain, but I'm not really caring about entertaining. If you're entertained, then good for you. If not, well, maybe you're intrigued by the drawing process. Either way, I'm not here to disperse knowledge. I'm here to draw and create. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Alright. I'm hoping I can get this out at least before Thursday or such. Either on Thursday, but definitely have to be on a Thursday. Wednesday or Thursday, no matter what. So I gotta, focus on this, because once I'm done shading and texturing, we've been at this for 20 minutes, yeah. I mean, the village is the one that's going to take the longest, because obviously it's a lot of things in it. But once I'm done with this, the shading and texturing process, I'm going to immediately start working on trying to get the, finished. I'm going to try to get the creatures drawn, essentially. Which shouldn't be that difficult, in all honesty. But there's a lot, and I gotta look at some things. Oh, I didn't even shade this in yet. Hold on. It's definitely interesting going back into a world like this. I haven't thought about adding on to Criteria in years. Which is insane. Like, really. It's been so long since I've really had the Princess of Mine to do anything with this planet that I've made a long time ago. Feels good, though. Feels good. Feels like it's right in place or something. You know what I mean? Hopefully. Okay. Well, I'll worry about those a little bit later. Let's just focus on the things that are more important than are in front of us. Even though that is in front of us. I remember long ago I made like a what's the best way to describe it? A Crash Bandicoot level hub thingy. It's like there's the 5 buttons in front of you, and I think maybe even the boss button. And then it was a theme. There was a theme going on for most of them. I don't know where that book is. I might still have it, but I don't really feel like looking through it again. I mean, I could at least show you this right here. This book right here. Right this thing. The most largest and dangerous planet in our universe holds over billions of species. And 0. However many zeros, 4 zeros, 25% of them are passive. The rest are deadly and very strong. Yes, indeed. And there's the Titan. This is how simplistic my drawing style was back then. I don't know if you saw that. I'm not going to check. And this is the mess that I have here trying to figure this out. I have no clue. All I know is I have a reference. And I can draw them I can draw them 10 billion% better than it was before. At the very least, with my skills the way they are now, I can definitely improve upon the creatures. Maybe even improve upon their designs. Who knows? To you guys, the designs will be the same. But to a handful of people who have seen me create Criteria and have wanted a contribution of them being a demon lord in one of them, they will see it and they'll be like, man, he's gotten him 10 billion% better. Yep, I'd like to think that we have. We've at least got the simplistic and the, complex stuff down to a T. Anatomy, basically a hell of a lot better than it was in the past. Although I will say that the backgrounds have kind of like gotten a little bit, because some of the backgrounds that I made have been like very good with a lot of detail to it. But to do so for this one, there's so much mouse movement and a few other things that I have to do. Pain in the ass, isn't it? I remember I made like a pretty big, cool-looking city. Made a few pretty big, cool-looking things. Problem with Photoshop is, to make those things, you really have to be finite in details. And that takes ages. Ages that I do not possess right now. Oh, and speaking about creations, I came up with another Mocker Brain horror series. One that I can't do just yet because I gotta get done with, at the very least, Heavenly Deadland first. But I just came up with a Mocker Brain horror series it's pretty... I feel like it's gonna fuck people up. And not in the way you would think. I don't want to, like, diverge too much information about it just yet. But all I can say is this. It's inspired off of Made in Abyss. I know. But don't worry. We're not going down the same route that the author went down. Although there is one implication for a last arc that I feel like is the worst thing I've ever created. The worst thing that I think even, it depends really, but I feel like even the creator of Made in Abyss would blush by looking at this. And not in attractionness, apparently. No, but in like, oh my god, why didn't I think of that? I can't say too much about it, but it is... Let's just say I thought I wasn't going to be able to outdo myself with... Because there's 4 arcs in mine, each 6 episodes long, so it's a 24-episode series. there is still going to be whimsicalness, but it's going to be in a similar vein to Made in Abyss's beginning, where it seems so sweet, innocent, and kind, until you get deeper into the series, where it just becomes very, very horrifying. Mentally mind-fucking, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. So yes, I have something pretty messed up in mind. I don't know how people are going to handle it, but, you know, Made in Abyss exists. And I guess it makes sense. That's a pretty influential series, despite the very weird undertones that the creator has in most of it. But you can see the whimsy, you can see the world building, you can then get horrified by how the world works down there. I feel like I want to do the same thing. I mean, I already got Heavenly Deadland parroting mostly Tokyo Ghoul and at least the blood bit of Dead Man Wonderland. Aside from that, it's also semi-inspired off of Gravity Rush, but mostly via the layer system, the way that works. I kind of like the way that works, and the thing there, a very specific thing there, brings forth just how terrible the fourth arc is going to be for everybody to look into. I mean, the end, I feel like the end that I have in mind is going to be satisfying. It definitely is going to be satisfying, no doubt about that. I'm not going to say too much about it, but if we get to that point, which is probably won't be until, like, I don't know, 2027 at the rate we're going. Let's see. 2025, finishing that up, that's 6 episodes of Heavenly Deadland. Followed by, of course, 2026, beginning of that. Wait, yeah, 2026, the beginning of that. Is it? Oh, right. My brain, I forgot something. They were supposed to be in between. Well, the beginning of 2026 is when Heavenly Deadland would end. And 2027 comes into play, because 2026 going into that in 2027 is when there is going to be a free space so that I can have the next series line up with Roscoe Morgan as well as Chrome Wars. Then 2027, somewhere either on May or past May, I'm not sure, 6 episodes of that series begins, the new Mockbrain horror series. Look, it's funny, but I was thinking about it. I don't exactly remember the reason why I just thought about it. Like, there was something I was thinking about. Time dilation. Something about what was happening in Fairy Tale currently, where we're about... Because this was when they about just entered the parallel world arc. I forgot what it was called. Evelys? And I was thinking, what if they come back and time goes forward? And then I just had a freaking mind blast of a whole new series that I'm creating now all of a sudden. Just a freaking brain blast of creations. I don't know, and then, you know, I didn't think about it too much at the time, and now I come back to work today, and yesterday a little bit, and I was thinking about it a little bit, and now all of a sudden I have 4 arcs, 24 episodes worth, and a general idea on what the plot's going to be, all within the span of technically 3 days in total, because I didn't really think of it for a few days during the weekends, because I was busy with other things. But now we have a series that can be after Heavenly Deadland, so we don't go straight into Season 2. Which, that part's a little bit saddening. We don't go straight into Season 2, but that's fine. I don't think people would be ready for this. Although, if those who have never watched Made in Abyss sees this series, they're not going to be ready for this. Made in Abyss people might be ready for it because they already went down that road once. They'll be like, alright, screw it, I'll give this one a shot. Seems all nice, happy for like an episode or so. Some creepy horror factors in. You think, oh, this is just a nice little horror anime. Sure, this is fine. I can get into this. And then they get into freaking episode 6 and are like, oh my fucking god! What? Huh? And then this just blows their minds because it's very, very sad. Very sad, the plot there. Like I said, though, can't say too much about it yet. We'll have to wait until the full series comes out, or at least the series starts, in 2027. So hopefully we all continue to live until then. Hopefully. I don't know how the hell this is gonna work. Anyways, yeah, it is going to be something. And that's all I can say about it right now. Whoops, nope, go to the dock. So yes, something to look forward to after Heavenly Deadland gets finished off. But for now, we got Heavenly Deadland to look forward to. And while that series might not be as traumatic as this new one, it's still pretty gruesome and does have a little bit of trauma, at least coming into the later episodes. I think the first few sets of episodes aren't going to be as trauma-inducing, given certain scenarios and whatnot has to take place and characters have to be added before we, you know, start kicking things off. But regardless of that fact, we've got, at the very least, 23 more episodes left in that department. So, yeah, it's still going to be a while. All I know is that it won't end until towards the end of 2026. So it's going to be a while. 4 episodes for 3 limitation periods, which is a total of a year. Well, 8 months, 16 months. This is like 8 by 8 and another 8. No, so 2 years. Yep, 2 years from now. Technically, as soon as the series started, 2 years from then. Because it's 2025 where it starts to pick up into more than just 4 episodes. The limitation period. Ugh. So anyways, yeah. I can't wait to create that, but I'm going to have to. I can't exactly really do anything else with it. Unless I set aside some fantasy drawings to preemptively get the series started. Well, not preemptively, but at least get the character designs in mind. And be like, oh, this one! Right, of course, I forgot about this one, and I think now it's about time to start up this nightmare of a show. You're gonna... nobody's even gonna be any none the wiser if they don't watch my YouTube series. Or if they skim through it. They're gonna see it and they're gonna be like, oh, this seems like a very interesting and fun little series. Very cutesy, very whimsical, wonderful. Little do they know, something dark is brewing in the works here. They ain't prepared. There ain't no way they can be prepared for a series like that. No, hell no. There's no way. I can't wait just to see people's reactions to it. It's definitely going to be one of those series that's a little bit more, you know, touchy in hitting the heartstrings and hitting very certain nerves inside of people's bodies that triggers severe fight or flight responses. I like how I'm hyping it up, but it's probably not going to be as, you know, it depends. It really depends on how everything's depicted. I feel like reading it isn't going to do it as much justice as, say, if it were to ever get animated. But Made in Abyss got animated, so I can't imagine why I couldn't get this series animated when the time comes to make it, right? Because a series like that, that's pretty risky and daring in the kind of content that it made. I'm not talking about the Makabre stuff, I'm talking about the other stuff. You know, that stuff. If that can get animated, then surely this one can get animated as well. Surely, right? Cadillac SUV. Alright. Ah, my eyes. Ugh, so tired. So as it stands right now, we've got 3 series in Makabrain Horror, at least comic cover based. If we don't count Demon Realm and Reginald's Makabre cases. If we did, that would be 5 series then. I'm going to go through these individually instead of bit by bit, layer by layer. Jesus friggin' Christ. I like pasta, turkey, slab of meatloaf cut up into chunks, a lot of cheese, couple of eggs, pain in the ass to get cut, a lot of salt. All just because I don't like regular old pasta. Now I'm gaseous because of it. At least I'm not pulling off ginormous, demonic, moist, critical burps. Although I'm sure some of you guys would want to see that. I don't think I can really pull that up. I don't have the same gastronomical talent as he does, unfortunately. But that's fine. Because we got our lewd jokes with us, eh? And also horrifying abominations, but we haven't really talked too much about them just yet, fully. Plus, I can't talk about it too much just yet, because I still gotta get done with Heavenly Deadland, then I can start the series up. But it's gonna be a little secret between me and you, YouTube audience. Just you wait. I don't think any of you are going to be prepared for when the time comes. But when it does come, well, be ready. That's all I can really say, is just be ready. Be ready to see some... It's going to be like, it's not even going to be instant. It's like, it's going to be a little bit before we fully get to the traumatic experience and whatnot. Oh, right, of course, I was talking about the comic-based series that I have planned. For fantasy, I got at least 3 that I know of. One has 4, maybe potentially 5 seasons, if I decide to do that one idea that I had in mind. Another one has 2 seasons, and the other one could have more than 1, but I only really had 1 in mind at the first instance. Okay, I think I'm going to make this go by a little quicker by getting this done with first. So that's a significant amount of fantasy-based series that I've got in hand there. I only got, at the very least, 2 comic-based hardcore mature drawing series happening. One is currently doing its thing, and the other one is in the woodworks waiting for the current one to finish its run. And then that will start up next January, or this January, I should say, not next. This January. Aside from that, in the sci-fi department, I've got 3 of those. And in portraits, at the moment, I think I only have 2 of those. I think. That I know of. And if you want to count fan art, I technically got 3 of those. But I don't know how much most of those count, since they're not all, you know, comic-based. There are 2, though. but both of which have to wait for their respective series to end. One is 6, the other is 6, and has potential for multiple seasons.
Yeah.
What you looking at? What you giving me that look for?
Yeah.
Really? So yeah, I got a decent amount of series in that department, which is great. Keeps me busy for the rest of the years ahead of us. Oh, there goes a dog running down the stairs. Don't know if you can hear that. So anyways, yeah, I've got a lot of creations in mind. And I even got some more of the current ones I have been doing with Ebony and Ivory, Forgotten Fling, Unlaughable Goth, all that stuff. At least 2 of those in mind for portraits. So there's a lot more left that I can do, which is good. It's a shame that it's kind of slow going, but I do need to get some space open for standalones, right, Cat?
Oh.
Right, Cadillac? I don't know if you can see her. She's on her bed, purring and looking at me. Yeah, what are you doing, computer? I don't know what this computer is doing. Make my mouse move very sluggish on occasions for some reason. I mean, I get it, I'm tired as well, but that doesn't give you the excuse to be tired. Alright. Let's see. Dirt. Or grass in this case, but dirt because everything's in one pretty consecutive spot here. All the grass in the back here, but try not to be too dark. Like, make the areas that need to be darker, but make the topper parts, that doesn't make any sense, make the top parts bright still. At least get the hill appearance going for some of these, like this here. Like for this one, I could probably do a little bit of this. Make this area a little bit darker. We'll have the shadow here take up most of that. I mean, this wouldn't make sense. This is a giant ash tree. It's huge. It takes up a decent amount of the area here. Alright, let's see. So we got the banks down here. Don't know how much of those we can see with the water here, so I'll just get rid of the water for now while I do this. Oh man, all this kelp. It's still standing up even though the water has been drought for years. Yes, sirree. How droughtful. Ah, but it's fine. It'll come back soon enough. At some point. There's no way the water would just stay gone forever.
Grandpa, it's been like 90 years and I've just been born. Even I can tell you this water ain't coming back.
No, son, it'll come. Surely it will. There's no reason for it not to, right?
Grandpa, you need to get bed.
Right, cat. You could probably easily contribute it to an ROTC cat, because technically those cats can... Some of them can be old, others can be young, and have lived for hundreds of years. Which, you know, technically doesn't make sense, but they are souls of the dead cats brought to the realm of the cats to live out the rest of their eternity. Consider it like advanced heaven for the cats, except sometimes the cats go about their days in different universes and different worlds to just do whatever. Case in point, the one in Minecraft, the other one in Played Up, And the other one, I guess, technically in Tales of Berseria, as well as Nukem Edition, or Terraria Nukem Edition. But, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, these cats are basically just immortal. But they choose to go into different parts of the world just for shits and giggles. Nobody knows why. Nobody really understands why. That's what the cats do. They have a very particular procedure when it comes to exiting their realm to basically do whatever they want. Which is fine. I mean, technically speaking, they've been given immortality due to their, new forms. So obviously these cats aren't exactly, well, vulnerable. Emotionally vulnerable, yes. Physically, you can kick them all you want, and they're not going to die. They're going to stay alive. Is that right, cat? Hurt them all you want, they're only going to cry and make you feel bad. Well, it's an ancient, which you might get a kunai dagger in the head, and that's going to be an instant death. Even if it's in the arm, instant death. So yeah, invulnerable to damage, not invulnerable to feelings unless you're an ancient, in which case you're more prone to anger. Who knows why the ancients are so angry? Why are the ancients so angry? Not gonna look at me. I'm gonna poke your head in. There we go. Oh, I didn't mean to go that dark, but that's fine. Oh, I'm in coral. No wonder why this is not right. I didn't want to go in coral. Again, I didn't want to go in coral. Go to the goddamn kelp, you fucking moron. There we go. I don't think I have any aquatic creatures in the lake-like area here. But then again, there wasn't really a presence of mind of a lake in a place like this, so I guess technically that doesn't really matter. Alright, let me see. I feel like... No, wrong size. I feel like the size, or at least the darkness, needs to be more so towards the middle. Now have this area be deeper, darker blue. I think that one looks pretty cool. And we'll have highlights on the edges like so. Yep, like that. And a little bit like that. There we go, and I could probably have some shadows here to make this a bit darker. Some mid-tone highlights so it's not too dark, but it still keeps its darkness. And because this one isn't really deep, there doesn't need to be anything here. And you got like a nice little crater there. Right, cat? Crater? Right here, butt. What you wearing there? Trees, 3A. I feel like most of these trees should be simplistic enough, but I'm not sure. Like, for instance, these don't really need to be very finite. They probably should, but it's fine. We don't need to worry about it. Alright, the rest of that should be easy then. Man, what a strange place. You got floating islands around the area, too. I definitely do want to do a hell of a lot more to the regions here outside of just making them normal. So I'll try to figure out some interesting and weird-looking structures or natural structures that I can put around the places here to give them a little bit more of a unique spin to it. I mean, giant tree isn't the first thing that we've made, but giant tree with a giant wasp-like nest on it. Giant insect nest on it. Now that's something. I don't know what my brain was thinking of when I was creating a book of a whole bunch of creatures that were very extremely dangerous towards all things, basically. And how 0.00025% of the creatures there are passive. Which I guess technically is still kind of a big number if there's like billions of species. Actually, I'm going to do some math here. Say we had like a billion species and divide that by 0.00025. Or multiply that, because that's not doing what I think it's doing. That would be 25,000 different species on the billion alone. You fool. Why did you do that? It's fine. There's like 2 billion to be 50, so it would still be like 10,000s of passive creatures. That's still a lot. But also, in the face of a billion or so creatures, Criteria is more dangerous and more hostile than Australia. And it's an entire planet. It's the size of, I don't know, definitely the size of all planets put together, maybe. Not really, but maybe all planets in our Milky Way galaxy put together. Maybe even bigger than that. Who knows? I don't know what the biggest planet in the universe is that we know of. Even so, I probably would just exaggerate the numbers, and that's where we get it. Yeah, there's more to this area, more to this planet on the outside than there is just on the inside. There's also some strange creatures on the outside. And when I say that, I'm talking about the whole... Actually, let me see if I can find it. It shouldn't be too difficult, right? Is that it? No, that's something else. Yeah, that's a hell dragon. That's anywhere in the sky. So yeah, there's giants. Yeah, I do have a size thing. So that's a height of 50,000 feet, a width of 30,500. What do you call it? Width, and whatever the fuck FTL is. What the fuck was FTL again? I don't know, but whatever FTL is, that's 35,000 PT. Or FT, no, feet. Maybe that's length. Oh, no, never mind. I'm looking at the FT. So, yeah, 35,000 feet in length. This is when I was using feet instead of meters. Which I don't really... yeah. In terms of the Taden, they're 5 to 6 feet. In terms of the Boss Bee, they're 8 feet high, 9 feet wide, and 22 feet long. They're freaking huge. These things are huge as hell. Well, I still gotta find... Would that be later on? Also, is that... Anywhere with cool... Okay, so no, that wouldn't be... Unless... That's cool. I guess. Ah, yes, the exospherelisk. And yeah, but it's a race of dragon and undead, which is located in space. This thing literally looks like one of the bone dragons that I made in the void, except it has a more pig-like bone snout. My God. I subconsciously created this thing that's in space, but in the void of the demon realm. That is just hilarious. And, you know, subconsciously, right? These are series that I didn't really have, like, the presence of mind in creating all the other series that I had. Now that I've come to look for them and get the information that I have, like, stored from probably a couple of decades ago, maybe. I think it depends. I don't know if I was 16 or 17 when I made this, but it's definitely a decade ago. Do I feel old yet? Mentally, definitely not. Mentally, I still feel like a teenager. Physically, Well, this is the most physical labor that I've really exerted, but I do remember having physical issues when I was young anyways. So maybe nothing's changed. Maybe it's all just still the same. Except maybe a few wrinkles that are a little bit more popping out now. I mean, you can see the little line there faintly. But other than that, mentally, I'm unchanged. Maybe I've matured a bit, maybe, but I haven't really noticed it too much. Oh, I definitely haven't lost my imagination, that's for certain. I don't remember exactly what I was reading or looking or watching about something with imagination. Was it hobbies? Was that what it was talking about with when you grow older or you don't have imagination? A child's imagination or something? Well, I'm glad I still have my imagination. I'm glad I still have my creation, my creativity. I might be 27, but I still have the creativity of a child. Somewhat, so to speak, but more of a professional... The professional skills of somebody who's been drawing for years, which I have been drawing for years. Although I still feel like I could do more with the background for most of these things. It's just a pain in the ass sometimes to try to figure out what could I put here. More giant rocks? Don't we have enough giant rocks already? Can't really do another giant tree, and I need to keep this area open for that area back there. Preferably. And you got, like, things that are very minute as well. Well, needless to say, I guess it doesn't exactly matter. So long as I can continue to create, that's fine by me. And it's good to go back into time for a minute to simply relive the Criteria creation days. Now, with landscapes and scenery kind of just being freed up thanks to the Demon Realm being finished, I am in need of some more than just Elementals Reborn landscapes and scenery drawing. So, why not go and do, you know, this? Why not? I like this concept. It's similar to what I have been doing with the Demon Realm regions, where I draw the background and the creatures that reside in it. And it's similar to just building up one giant area, one giant place. Although I'd say the only massive difference here that we might have is the fact that we're probably not going to draw all of the creatures individually like we have been doing with Demon Realm. First of all, I would need several spaces in fantasy, sci-fi, and Manga Brain Horror to do that. The issue with Manga Brain Horror is the fact that we got, at this current point, 4 episodes of Heavenly Deadland, 3 episodes of Lustful Horrors, 2 of Reginald Franklin's Macabre Cases, and 1 Demon Realm drawing. With all of that in mind for Manga Brain Horror, I want to be able to draw any of the more, horror-based creatures that reside on its planet. Now, aside from that, in fantasy, we got 6 episodes of of Elementals Reborn, which means we got 4 leftovers, but we also got to utilize those potentially for mature drawings. And then there's sci-fi, which has, at the moment it's 4, but it's going to be 2 soon of Nova Guardians. Or 6, I mean, not 2. It's going to be 6 of Nova Guardians. Meaning I technically don't have enough space to really do much in that department either, so... At the end of the day, I am unable to really do anything creature-wise for this series, which is fine. I don't need to do that. It's fine as is. For one thing only, because it is a series that I can make entirely for the landscapes and scenery folder. And that's fine by me. So anyways, yeah. This is our new landscapes and scenery thing. Because before, it really didn't have much. It was kind of like bouncing back between a few different things. First off, it was focusing primarily on Chrome War bases. That was, I believe, before I started YouTube. So that was a while ago. You haven't seen me draw on a single Chrome War base yet. I guess if you don't count the ones that I drew with the characters in mind and maybe some of the weaponry drawing. But aside from that, we did mostly Demon Realm bases. That's when we started doing that. I think we did all the Demon Realm stuff, right? Hard to say, really. I could look back. Also, we got a stupid copyright thingy here with this thing. With the Tales of Berseria that apparently got declined despite the fact that who in the fuck in their right mind is going to be like, yes, I'll go on ahead and listen to the music here in this 2-hour-long clip instead of their official channels. This copyright stuff needs to be abolished. Unless it's actually being utilized throughout the entire course of a video and being abused, it should be abolished. Or it's... I don't exactly remember the point I was making. Okay, view full playlist. Let me see. Yeah, we started with the Blood Peaks, went over into the Hellscape. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we did every single one of the Demon Realm regions on YouTube. If I skipped one, well, too bad I did it off camera. If I didn't, yay, I guess. I don't know. That's so annoying. Because all the other disputes that I've made were kind of like ignored for 30 days. These guys are like, nope, right on the ball. We don't care. We want that money. Sorry to say this, Burrows, but I ain't making money off of this. I don't think I am ever going to make money off of this. You really think me at 37 subscribers and barely a lot of views are making money off of any of this? Fools! Nincompoops! Morons! What is with you guys in Japan and your intense copyright nonsense when it comes to things that don't even encroach upon your creations? Like I said, if it's used outside of your game, that makes sense. But the music is in your fucking game. Why are you having a hissy fit over the music in your game? Don't you want people to know, oh, hey, it's from this game. You know what? I'm going to listen to his music, and I'm going to buy this game because it seems like a fun game or something. And it is, at least for me. Most people are probably so anal about, certain things about it that they probably despise the game. I can tell you one thing, people are so overly critical about, certain things that just don't make too much sense. I enjoy certain things, and I look on the comments and I'm seeing people be like, this arc sucked. I like the other arcs better or something. And be like, well, the arc was fine. And then they bring up, non-issues and whatnot. And the ones that they do bring up that has, some issues that I can agree, and be like, it's just one thing. I like the rest of it regardless. Be like, yeah, that was weird, but the rest of it was fine, I mean, with Promised Neverland Season 2, I can definitely agree with that one. I liked it for what it was in the beginning, but I understood why everybody hated that one. That one I understood. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a shame we couldn't get a complete manga, adaptation. The same, we skipped a lot of things. Maybe it would have been better. Who knows? No clue. No clue at all. I wonder what decisions they made to do that. Hard to say, really. Was it because they're like, okay, there's no way that this is going to sell as much, so just cut it down into this much, and or at least the manga isn't going to sell that much, so cut it down into this much and send it out. Which, why? At that point, I'd be like, you know what, just make the second season the entirety of it. If we want to pick it up later, we can pick it up later. If not, well, we got the books, we got the mangas, we got everything else. I don't want to rush this. If it leaves the manga unfinished, it is what it is. The books are there, the story can be continued. Maybe somebody else will pick up the animation job. Who knows? But I wouldn't want to ruin an anime adaptation of one of my creations. If I can keep it relatively consistent, then that's good. If there are some things that we have to cut, though, because of time constraints, look, I've tried my best to keep it within a 22-minute reimagine. The only one we don't have like that is Nova Guardians, so I don't know how the hell that would work. Nova Guardians is different in the sense that it's not the same length. It might be like 30 minutes or so. I think like 55 kilobytes worth of text is like, I don't know, 44 minutes, but it's probably not. Probably not at all. Hell, for all I know, that's actually a full-on 22-minute reimagine. But I don't think it is. Pretty sure it's not, at least. I have no clue. All I know is if there's going to be a season 2, but there might not be a chance for a season 3 adaptation, I'd be like, well, just make season 2 as is. And season 3, we'll just hope that that one comes out and we can get that one done with. I mean, I don't know how all that stuff works behind the scene. I don't know if there is innate reasons why some of these animated series don't get fully adapted to manga. I'm not sure why. I feel like with the way that I do things, you would definitely be able to get stuff done with, like, I would be able to finish off the series before all the animations come out. Hell, I could probably finish the series before episode 1 fully gets animated. For the most part, at least. Because all I gotta do is draw cover art, write up the story, and boom. Now, I wouldn't really fully do that because I need to have some time in between to really think through some things. Remind myself of certain events so I don't forget about them for later. And remind myself what characters know what and where we stand right now in a storytelling instance. I should have notes down for that, but I don't. And I don't know why. But there's not much I can really do about it, unfortunately. Also, this is the dot technique that I'm using again. You don't know that I have unlocked this technique. But I tried this technique out with this one drawing I did of Moon, Yuri, and Jayla dressed up as witches. Try to take a wild guess what kind of drawing that is. Little Philly Killy, or at least this case, Fully Tully? It depends, really, climax, what kind of climax we're looking for here. A climax ending in moans or a climax ending in laughter. Either way, I learned a new technique on a mature drawing, which is good to know because that, I mean, yeah, the mature drawing had a pretty cool fantasy background to it that I liked. So it's good to know that even in mature drawings, I can still improve. I've been using the new technique that I have unlocked with the Maka Brain horror drawing that I did of the eviscerating doll. And I use it to get tears made. And those look a hell of a lot better. The tears look more thicker, more realistic. Debatable if they look realistic. Especially if it's the kind of tears that shoot out of someone's eyes. It's also debatable if the blood splatter is really even realistic either. Although I guess a blood splatter would just be one shade of color and not multiple shades of red. Or would it? Depends on the lighting. Either way, I guess it doesn't exactly matter. Now, I don't exactly... I think this one makes more sense to have that because it looks like an actual, like, snow area. But this one, I made it here to look like, you know, far back. For the trees, the dots make sense. For nature, tree-based stuff, grass-based stuff, it makes sense. That's why it worked so well in that one fantasy mature drawing. This one is a little bit different. Although I guess the one fix I could probably do to this is just delete the bits and pieces of these in the back. Yeah, like that. That's fine. So it looks like it's faded out in the distance or whatnot. Not too much now. Thankfully, these don't have too much in the way of shading, so it shouldn't be that big an issue, I don't think, at least. And we got the backdrop D's over here. These cats. I don't know if you can hear her. She mewed softly. Well, not mewed, meowed. You don't mew, do you? You're just gonna keep looking at me now. Well, shoosh. How excited. Anyways, what was I doing? Ah, this one. The canyons. Yeah, I can't wait. Because we got, like, the basic, bare minimum landscapes that we can do. I'm going to be doing the jungle floor probably next. Not next, after this. I feel like the order of which I'm going to be going in for the background drawings is going to be Pine Quail Village from Elementals Reborn, of course, alongside Faith Dawn Village. And that's primarily because I wanted to do a little drawing of the characters there. The characters whose names, some of which I forgot. Alright, just go to rock layer. I don't know why I'm trying to find it that way. All the cacti. And this is far, too, so there's probably a lot more to this area. I'm making these simplistic for now. They don't need to be anything too complex just yet. Primarily because it's a lot more work to get more complexity happening in most of these areas here. How long have we been at this so far? Okay, thanks. I didn't want to open a file explorer, you dumbass. We've been at this for a little over an hour and 12 minutes. Not bad. Considering the fact we're almost done with most of the shading. Not all of it, though. Then after that, there's the creatures that I gotta draw. I gotta spend all night drawing. It's gonna take a while, but it's fine. Besides, I got time. What's today? Tuesday? Well, technically it's Wednesday, but today is my Tuesday at this time. 12:13 a.m. Wednesday. So I got time, I think. If I can get the drawings of the characters and whatnot done with and have some that are going to be copy and pasted, I should, theoretically speaking, be able to get this done with within Wednesday's time. Whether or not I'm going to fully get it done with all really depends on how long it takes for me to get the characters drawn with today. Or not characters, but the creatures. I gotta look back at my book, look at all the references that I have, look at all the creatures, and figure out which ones that go in the planes or not. After that, we're gonna make new creatures. Yeah, we're gonna make new creatures, and I'm probably gonna do something similar to what we did in the Demon Realm thing, but different. Different enough to where it's its own thing. Where we talk about like how some of the creatures in this area, react. Talk about like some of the smaller fry creatures, the ones that aren't that important. All of that stuff, basically. Of course, that means we need to at least make a decent amount of creatures here. So it can't just be the Titans and the boss bee and whatever the flowers are that the boss bees utilize, because there's a flower that the boss bees do utilize. It's just, I don't exactly quite remember if there was any more outside of those three. I don't remember exactly what the boss bees did with the flower. I don't remember there's any more in the plains. And also, I don't remember how the hell I organized most of the creatures and things there. I think there are some areas like jungle floor. There's like tundra plains or something. So there's like snowy plains, I guess. I might just scrap those things entirely and just go about doing things my own way. At the very least, after we've gotten done with the ones that are located in certain areas, I should theoretically only have unique and new creatures left to take care of. Now, the real question is, am I going to number the creatures off? Am I going to number all of them off? I'm uncertain. I am uncertain. It depends on if we're going to be going in order. We might be numbering creatures off. Might want to have more than 10. Might want to have more than 20. Who knows? Can I draw 20 creatures here? Can I get that many things done with? The real question is, am I going to have to go finite into the drawing to be able to draw the creatures here? Right now, the only creatures we need to worry about are the ones that are within the Great Plains. Obviously, I'm not going to worry about drawing anything over here yet. This area will be barren, because so far you probably can't see anything there. And even if you could see anything, it would be a speck. It would literally be right there. Right there. So, yeah, there's no point. Unless there's a creature that's actually very large, to which case then you will probably see it like this or so. Or it could be a creature that large, who knows? The only thing I remember of Criteria is the fact that there's a lot of very terrifying and dangerous creatures, and some of them can be large as hell. Alright, I gotta make this one a little bit more showy so I can actually see what I'm doing here. Just to make sure I'm not like fully doing anything stupid here. I want to keep this thing faded so it looks like it's very far, because technically it is very far away. I mean, for a planet like Criteria, I'd imagine the horizon is way farther than our planet's is. But then again, it might be a case of as far as the eye can see, so maybe we can't see past this point. Or maybe as we look in this direction, we just see a blurry mess of trees. Maybe. I don't know, when you look at a mountain from very far away, you see like faded, like the sky kind of blends in with the mountain, right? So maybe it's something similar to that. Maybe. Where you would see these trees from far. And these trees are high. If I remember correctly, which probably isn't really saying much because I barely remember at all, I think there's jungle extremes or no ozone. Actually, I can look it up right now. Forest, no ozone, space, planet core, underground. Okay, no. Unless jungle, floor, branch, tops, extreme, temple, oasis. I think that's by itself, though. I think, from what I'm looking at here, there's these semicolons, or wherever the hell Zoop, well, no, Voop space and Voop is, whatever that's called, I can't remember. Followed by a slash, which is the different areas there. So plains, hill versions, or caverns versions. I'm probably not going to do that. And there's just regular old plains shown, so it's just like their hill variations and the cavern variations. The deserts also have plains and canyons variations, so that would probably be plains and canyons, but I'm probably going to scrap that as well. Jungle has floor, branch, tops, extreme, and temple. That's several areas in the jungle. I think this is probably extremes, or is this tops? And floor is here, the tops is here. And then there would be like branches out there and extreme way up. Like if we were to go in the amount of direction here, extremes would probably be way up here. With a whole bunch of trees here. And although this probably would be a lot larger than that one and more thicker. So maybe it's not extreme. Maybe this is just up the tops. And the oasis by itself. Then there's the tundras with the plains and the ice oceans and the mountains and the caverns. And there's the volcanic with the lava pools, the plains of caverns. Then there's the undead, an undead region, which is not located anywhere here, which is the plains and caverns. Then there's the mountains, which is the small, medium, large, extreme. And there's the ocean by itself, but I could definitely put more to it than just ocean. Then there's the forest, which is this thing right here. Then there's no ozone. I can't remember what that one was. I think it's just no ozone layer. We'll see. I think extremes goes in past the atmosphere and goes into, like, the middle portions close to space or in space. I think that was the idea with that. Then there was space, planet core, and underground. Okay, well, I'm glad I remembered how that worked, at least. Glad that I did that. But there is no floating isles. But now there is. Look, this is an old series that I made when I was a teenager. Now that I'm an adult and have way more imagination on hand and way more persistency, I can create whatever the hell I want. I can go balls to the walls. Criteria is going to be several different types of regions. Those were just basic baby bitch regions. This is going to be different. I'm going to draw several different types of regions, trying to make them all look different and unique, but all keep them somewhat within the realm of natural. It's not the demon realm, but it is at the least what the demon realm was loosely inspired off of, albeit subconsciously or unconsciously. Is it subconsciously? Oh, right, it's the trees here first. God damn it. And then there's the these. And the these. Honestly, I like coming back into this again. Something about the Demon Realm demon drawings felt like great, being able to create like an entire landscape and then filling it up with a ton of not just like demons, even though yes, the demons were a part of it, just like a bunch of things, like creatures, making an environment. It's similar to what that one guy did. I can't remember his name, but he made something about like meat things. These meat creatures. There was like a meat mole rat, meat veins, meat Venus flytrap, meat mimic people, which I don't believe I have any mimics in the demon realm. Which is weird. Why don't I have any mimics in the demon realm? I guess setting it apart, the demon realm is definitely one of those kinds of creations that have such a strange assortment of monsters and whatnot. Mimic is the one concept I barely really touch on that much. I don't know why. I probably should, at least for one thing. Unless I have done something with a mimic and I just cannot remember. Which is a possibility. Do you know how many creations I have? Do you have any idea how difficult it is to try to keep track of how many I've created? Was it 75 or 50? I think it was 50. Yeah, it was 50. I think it was. I can't go all the way back to check. Looks like it was 50. Alright, good, great. Now the only thing left in this department is the sky. We got a small taste of Criteria right here. Like what you see? This is only the beginning. I have several regions that I can make. The ones that are already named there, but I'm going to have them be different. Is that all the shading? I think so. I hope so. Because now we're going to texture. Yeah, I only know that guy through MatPat. I've only recently started watching MatPat because there haven't really been too many videos on anything as of late. Although now Markiplier's got like 2 episodes of Amnesia. Whoops. God damn it. Man, I hate I really wish there was some way where I could just have the right click take me straight to the, what do you call it? Straight to the layer that I am most clicking on. The closest one. It would make doing this a hell of a lot easier if all I had to do was press Control, right-click, then just immediately press left-click because I am right there. It would make trying to get to these layers a hell of a lot quicker. Unless I gotta go behind something and accidentally click the top one, then that would be another problem I'd have to worry about, but I feel like it'd be an easy one to get the hang of. Hi, cat. Alack. Well, just gonna lay there with your eyes narrowed, closed, tired, sleepy, eepy.
Eepy. Man, why are you so eepy, though? Give me that look. Man.
Cat's tired. As am I. Yeah, if you don't get the reference, I don't blame you. It's a Family Guy reference, but it doesn't make any sense since there's no CPR being done. But that's fine, we don't have to make sense. I'll just leave you all confused.
Right, Mamu? Confuse the humans.
It sucks that voice is becoming a little bit more difficult to keep track of. I used to be able to do it so easily.
We gotta get past the Adam's apple. All the saliva in my mouth.
Alright, I guess we're not doing that. I thought I was going to be able to do that. Unless I could do this. Okay, now I'm just going to do simple cracks. Yeah, at least with the Titan, I don't have to really put too much effort into them. Just make sure that it's, you know, reasonable size, their bodies and whatnot. Now, I know it technically doesn't matter if I do this. I'm doing this anyways. And also, I wonder, can I move this up a bit, or is this going to be an issue? Yep, going to be an issue if I do that. It makes me wonder if I could just do this. Unless I could do something like this. Yeah, that works. That works just fine. I could probably try to get rid of some of this, but very minute-like. Okay, never mind. Not minute-like. There's no way that would work this way, so why don't I... Either that or do this. Which is going to look weird if I do that like that. But I guess... I could do this. Keep going. Keep going. We're almost there. Surely we're almost there, right? Whoops. Keep going. Okay, it's terrible. I don't know why I let that go for as long as I did, but you know what? It's fine. You know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to shade in that part. Make it darker. There. Now I'm going to go into the dirt here. At least dirt 1 and B and C. Or A, B, and C. Dirt 1, A, B, and C. Because those are the ones that really do need the this particular type of texture. The rest, they're kind of in a really good spot, so it doesn't matter. Also, did I crack that, or is that something else? Let's find out, shall we? Or not, as I wait for this thing to load. There we go. I did crack that. I did do that. Huh, okay. I'll crack it again, because it didn't look like I cracked it that much. There we go. Alright, and thankfully these are already dealt with, so I don't have to worry about them again. Remember, wood and stone. It's gotta suck to live like these people, though. Having to deal with wasps 3 times your size. Wasps that can easily just sit on top of your house and spit a shitload of magma down on your rooftop, burning it down and getting inside of your house, and then just taking you to their nests or just outright killing you on the spot. They are weak to fire, though. As has been stated there in the book, they are weak to fire. As is mostly everything. But I'd say they're more weak to... I had to do an itch. Whew. An itch on a certain part, and it turned into more than just an itch. It wasn't a scratch, it wasn't a cut. Whew. Whew. I'm only doing this because of the whole, we're on camera. And also because I'm not in the mood to do that right now. The thing that, the word you're looking for starts with the letter T. But yes, got an itch, turned into a T, and that was it. It was just one, though. That was intense. It's like way more intense than it usually is. I consider myself lucky that I am able to do that to myself, because the chances of me finding another girl who is willing to do that to me in this area is very slim, and I don't have the charisma to convince someone to do that. Well, technically speaking, I have at least once, but not really an often thing that I would like to happen. It's a shame, though. A real shame. But what can you do? I've kind of gotten used to being alone. Well, not really alone, as you can see in the back. Oh! You're not going to make a whir noise? You're just going to make quail noises? Ah, but it's not the same. But it doesn't really matter to me because, well, I'm like a Sims. I have that ability to talk to myself and get my social meter up. Talking to you guys also kind of helps that out. Yes, indeed. Yes, indubitably. So, aside from that, got this stuff down here. I don't know, you gotta be at 10. And you gotta be smaller. Do a little sneak around and try to get to the cat over here. And just looks behind her back and gives us a sad look. What are you looking so sad for? I'm gonna boop that snoot if you don't stop being sad. Boop the snoot. I did it. I booped the snoot. And now you yawned. And now you yawned. Alright, let's see. Now, thankfully I don't have to do too much with the bushes, so that's like half, not half, but less things that I gotta worry about texturing. That's a good big thing about most brushwork stuff, is that usually you don't need to texture them. Especially when it's with bushes and trees. You still gotta shade them, though. And small things like this doesn't really need too much in the way of texturing anyway. You see all those rocks out there? They don't really need it. It's not to say that I can't give it to them, it's just it's not really necessary. That's a waste. You know what I mean? I'm sure you do. Yeah, imagine these guys as more competent testificates. More competent Squidwards. Albeit, they do still die a bunch because, let's be honest with ourselves here, there's no way anybody in the primitive era would be able to take on giant hut-sized wasps. And even if they can, good luck, because there's dozens of them. There's more where that came from. It's not good. It is not good. Not good at all. It is how you say the bad. At the very least, you know, maybe they can kill the wasps and use their carapace for equipment. Maybe. Or are they smart enough to do so? Probably. Or are they strong enough to really be able to effectively do so? Probably not. And who knows? the boss bees might be a little bit more smart in terms of dealing with these fools. They see them trying to use one of their own kind's corpse as a weapon. They'll probably kill that person, take the weapon, and bury it in whatever graveyard these things create, or add it to the nest, and use their corpse as access, what do you call it? Because we didn't really talk too much about the creatures themselves. We only have like a page worth to talk about the creatures. We didn't get too much information out of them. Simply put, everything here is still technically a blank slate. We just got like the baseline information that we can use, and we can adjust the information as we see fit. I don't see why not. I mean, in terms of, view, like I said, only a handful of people know about Criteria. You guys know about it now, thanks to this, but the old Criteria, the one in my notebook at least, only a handful know about this. And I would go so far as to encourage them to come out and say it to me. Be like, hey, I remember this series back from high school. I see you still creating stuff. Yes, I am. I'm still creating. I drew a bunch back in high school. Yes, I drew a bunch back in high school and high school. Even in my young days as a kid, I was using MS Paint to draw some very weird drawings, I remember. Oh yes, I remember some weird drawings from the past. Don't think I have them anymore. I am in the wrong hut. And of course, I was also making games back then too. Hell, even during high school I was making games. Unfortunately, most of them got lost because I didn't have the presence of mind to back shit up back then. But I still have 2 games at the very least. 2 games I still have. One is semi-full, and the other one is, I guess technically it is full story mode-wise. It's just, there's a few things that I wanted to make there, but I couldn't really make because of the limitations of Game Maker and my knowledge at the time. I'm glad to be back into game development, even though I'm making extremely slow progress because of all the other creations I gotta make. I'm glad I'm at least still doing some kind of game development. Whoops. Even if it takes me a few years, I'm going to get Paint Maze done with the best that I can. Because at the end of the day, it's something that I'm creating. And I'm creating for the fun of it. So of course, you know damn well that I want to try to get it done with. And you know damn well that if it wasn't making Game Crafters, I would be barely getting any progress in Paint Maze in general. Which is a shame, really. That's primarily because I gave up the hour of, working on, because right now it's just the music making process. That's what we're on right now. I still also kind of want to adjust the music for the first, or the main menu a little bit, make it a little bit more higher pitched, mayhaps. I gotta figure out when I'm gonna do that, because I still got a lot of things here that I have to draw, and it's not good. There's so much that I have to do that I'm still semi-fallen behind on. The fact that I'm working on this week instead of the week prior is proof of that. Because I gotta get this done with on a Thursday. Because once Friday hits, well, first of all, I'm recording 2 episodes of Tales of Basaria, alongside, of course, Sonic Adventures 2, as knowing is going to be recording it in fucking Windows mode now, because full screen all of a sudden is just not want to work anymore. I don't know why. I don't understand why it just broke even further. That's what I don't get. How the hell did this port break even further? For the past 100 episodes, it was fine. I've stated my grievances with this before, but I'll do it again. Why all of a sudden After over 100 episodes, is this freaking program deciding to not work anymore. Unless it's in Windows mode. And if I put it in Windows mode, then the game lags, the input lags even more, and that's even more egregious than it should be. And it's just 10 times as worse. It's terrible. It's dumb. If I can't get this fixed, or if there's no fix for it, and if it's just permanently just broken, the only other option I have in my disposal is to get the mod loader instead. Maybe even get it to make the damn trees that you grow in the Chow Garden visible again, alongside making the Mystic Melody teleporters visible, and alongside making the fires visible. Needless to say, I really wish that whoever made this port really just went back into it and fixed the damn thing. I don't care if it's like, oh, port's there, done and done, no need to do anything else. Have pride in your fucking work, goddammit. Like, why? Why are there so many freaking corner cutters?
Man.
What you looking at?
Bob Snoop.
Yeah, it's annoying. I wish it wasn't like that. I really do. We gotta rely on the people then to fix these issues, I guess. Because otherwise, we're just gonna end up with a laggy mess, and that's gonna suck when we go into the more complex stages that requires perfect timing and pressing the buttons and everything working. Which is already bad enough, because this game is so finicky in that department as well. Might even go so far as to try to download some goddamn button mapping mod improvement so I can have the ring dash and a bunch of other things on their own button. I would like to try to keep it as vanilla as possible, but this port really just sucks, as well as the way the game was built in the olden days. Doesn't make any sense. We have like, even on the GameCube controller, we had like 4 buttons still. It was still the A, B, X, Y control scheme. I don't see why we couldn't have, unless there was only 2 buttons, but that doesn't make any sense. Well, for in the past games, they used to have 2 buttons, but this was during an era where we had the 4 buttons, the 4 common buttons you see on controllers on the 4 common buttons you see on controllers here, alongside directional pad and analog stick and bumpers, as well as anything else in the middle here. Or if you have like Xbox, where this is up here and this is down here. Honestly, I'm kind of used to this, I'm used to that. I don't really know. I can't really like tell the difference with the Xbox one. I do have the controller somewhere around here. Is it underneath? Shish. No, not there. Wait, where would I have? If it's not there, then would it be up? No. Unless I gave it back because the controller just doesn't really work anymore with this USB port being all jiggly and whatnot, and that's not really good when it comes to having consistent connections to the controller and whatnot. Good thing I don't play online games, otherwise that would have sucked. Still sucks, though. Well, slightly less so, due to not... What do you call it? I mean, you've seen it before. If you've seen the previous episodes of Sonic Adventures 2, you've seen that at some point I switched from using an Xbox controller to the PlayStation 5 controller. Bluetooth does have a slight bit of a button lag press. But it's not that noticeable unless you have to be in Windows mode. And that sucks even more. Like I said, though, if the next recording ticks me off beyond reason, and if it doesn't get fixed by itself automatically, mod loader, I have no other choice but to get the mod loader, figure out how that works, get that to work flawlessly, and continue to record Sonic Adventures 2 from now on. Hell, maybe even once Chapter 3 begins, when we're just taking care of chows and only taking care of chows and getting cat tack and soon to be ACT to S rank, then yeah, maybe something will be different. Hell, it depends. Maybe I might breed both cat and tack when they're close to S ranks all around, so there's not a lot that I have to do for ACT. Granted, it takes so long for them to really go into the next phase of their life, it's insane. Alright, hold on, I don't want to forget about the water's texture as well. I'd imagine it probably wouldn't take that long if all I did was spend my time with most of the chow. Do the infinite ring glitch once I've gotten the black shiny egg and then sell all those shells there in that department. Because what that's going to consist of, mostly, is just us buying tasty seeds, growing the trees, hopefully seeing the trees actually there instead of being a mess of missing assets or shrunken assets or whatever is wrong with it. I don't know what's wrong with it. What's wrong, Momo? You got the gash. And you want me to burp you or fart you? Doesn't make any sense, but you know, you got the gash. This cat's got gas. I don't know why. Why are you so gassy? Do I need to cut you back on some food or something? You're getting a little chubby. She's not that chubby, though. As you can clearly see by her appearance here. She's not that chubby, right?
Right, Momo? No.
Now she wants to leave because she don't like being held still. Why don't you like being held? Anyways, background bits. It could be Sandstorm that we see in the background here. Could be anything, really. Who knows? It's left up to interpretation until the time comes for me to start working on that region. I'm going to do an exposed jitter here, so this is not, like, all the same. And maybe at, like, 80 or something. Yeah, look at those. Look at those scaly-looking mountains. And I think it was like last episode I talked about this, right? Or was it in Game Crafters? I don't remember. But I was talking about the fact that Russia staged a coup. Apparently, it was somebody who used to work in hot dog vending. And now they're probably about to get myrtleized because they were sent to some vacation area somewhere in Ukraine. Although, granted, I really don't think... After this, I really don't think a lot of good is going to be coming out of their little... what do you call it? They might have thwarted the coup, but apparently now they look weaker. They look weaker now than ever before. Which I guess, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you're not really putting your backbone into literally a bunch of people who rose up against you and some kind of defense ministry guy? I don't know. I don't know. There's people out there that are just trying to be violent for the sake of being violent, and Putin is one of them. It's just, why? Why do you persist on doing this, is my question. There really is no reason for you to be doing this outside of just petty, egotistical nonsense. It's people like you that make the world 10 times worse than it already is, and the world is getting worse primarily because it is slowly dying. So what reason do you have to just try to stage a war with a country? I don't know if it's called a country. Well, whatever Ukraine is, why stage a war when soon we're all going to just die because the frickin' world's going to implode in on itself? Because we just keep on causing it issues. There's no reason to just let your ego get the best of you. It's childish, it's stupid, it's just not right. Everybody in power, really. There's very rarely occasions that somebody's in power that does things right. And that all really depends on who you ask, because there are going to be some people who will be like, oh, this guy did everything right for me, but it turns out he was heavily against, LGBTQ, hated gays, trans, even on a side hated black people. While the other side is, this guy did pretty good on his run, but all he did was just make the rich even richer and have the poor become even more poorer, and the middle class is now the poor because we can't really sustain ourselves with the current amount of money. And the things that they're happy about is the minor things that they have done, which is dependent on who the hell it is you're talking about. But those minor things heavily are outweighed by the bad things that they also kind of, supported. Years of progress sent back. While those that don't care for that and also share the same toxic mentality are probably like, yeah, screw them, depending on which side you're talking about. Not once have we seen somebody who has actively gone out of their way to solve all of the actual normal issues instead of the issues that are more on a personal matter. Those who are trying to help people and aren't trying to fuel their own hate-filled run or something. That's who we need. None of this personal bias nonsense. Somebody out there to at least look for the best interest for all of us. Every single one of us. Fixing the freaking, money problems when it comes to trying to buy a house. Fixing the economy. That one's also important. If we have to have an economy and not have atomic manipulation to create everything we need at our fingertips by converting energy to then convert particles and atoms into something, then at the very least we need to fix our current system so it's at least manageable and it's good for everybody, not just the people who are rich. Wishful thinking, I know, but let's just say this is a hypothetical good scenario that we can try to go for here. And aside from, those kinds of things, build more houses for those who are homeless. Get the hell out of here, you stupid McAfee. Kill McAfee. We don't need that anymore. I have a different Windows Defender that I didn't even realize that I have, so I don't need you anymore, McAfee. I wish I could just purge you from existence. Constantly being an issue. Kicking me out of my app for no freaking reason. Alright, now there's a tree here that I almost forgot. Simply put, we want problems. A problem. Well, I guess technically there are some people out there that want problems. All for the sake of keeping some weird, stupid, freaking idealistic scenario in mind. Did you really just boot me out of that, you stupid fucking program? Some way to fix, health insurance stuff. I'd say that, but I haven't really been to the doctors in ages. I probably should at some point and get checkups, but I just don't like needles. Not about pain, it's about the way they feel going inside of you. The pain is inconsequential. I don't like the aspect of foreign bodies entering my skin and any other areas other than certain orifices. Giggity. Well, depends on your definition of an orifice, because there's one that's technically not a hole into a body, but it is still a hole, nonetheless. Did I not shade that? I don't think I did. Well, shit. Needless to say, it's still an issue that should be fixed, obviously. And it's not even a personal issue. Although there are people out there who are going to be like, this is an issue. You're being, I don't know, some kind of whatever. I don't exactly remember the reasoning behind why they don't want affordable health care. The people who are, like, not in charge of it. What was it? Communist? Fascism? Was that their reasoning behind not wanting it? It's a stupid reason. It's a dumb reason. You're saying you don't want to be healthy? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're saying? I don't know shit about those two, but I highly doubt having a better healthcare system would turn us into that. I don't know what that is. I don't know the nuances, I said the word, of communism and fascism. All I know is that it doesn't make any sense to not want to have better health in general because of whatever this is. That's the reason some of these fools make. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense logically. We want to look it down the logical route. There is no logic. Just personal bias and hatred towards something that they probably don't even understand that much. They probably don't even know it. The people that do hate on that stuff don't even know it. I don't even know it. And I'm not going to care about it, nor am I going to really bring it up as an excuse for why we shouldn't get a certain thing. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. We should get that. That sounds very logical. And this person over here with his freaking dozens of guns, his multiple MAGA hats, and his goddamn freaking, I don't know what kind of dog he would have. German Shepherd? I don't want to drag German Shepherds into this. His goddamn freaking, you know, what you call it? He's like, oh, so I guess you want us to be communists, Jen, huh? I'm like, no, you idiot. It sounds like a useful thing that will keep us alive. I don't know what the fuck that is, god damn it. Are you sure you even know what that is? And in all actuality, it's actually a very... It's something that everybody else in the world uses, but for some reason we're just so adamantly against it. Like, not saying that everybody else's healthcare system is, you know, the best, because from what I've read, apparently Canada's like, good luck. I don't know what UK was, but I remember a meme talking about that. Probably a hell of a lot better than this shit, where you have to be a billionaire to even do the thing. Hell, as to quote a famous song from a famous YouTuber, but to modify a little bit. If I want to make it out there, I gotta be a 10,000-aire. How heavily outdated it is to fact where you can't be a 1,000-aire anymore and be good. No, now you gotta be a 10,000-aire. You gotta be a 100,000-aire at this point to be able to really afford anything that requires a significant amount of medical attention, don't it? Thank the cats I haven't had to worry about that. Part of me hopes that maybe my maybe my soul can somehow manage to, you know, unlock soul power. Then I can create my own physical body that's immortal and immune to everything, and have my soul be the main body of mine. And then therefore I can just go on ahead, you know, not have to worry about health, not have to worry about eating, not have to worry about any of that. Have the power to just create things out of nothing. Because that's what soul power would most likely be. Where am I right now? Ah, of course, I see. Right. I need to hide a bunch of these things here. But yes, I don't know. Everybody's just so hateful towards something or another. Sometimes they hate things they don't understand. Sometimes they just hate to hate. Sometimes people just want violence, which I can get it. I can understand wanting violence, the thrill and the rush of the fight, but you're not fighting for the right reasons. You're fighting for reasons that end up hurting everybody. Not just yourself, but your friends and families too. Even though you probably raised them and probably surrounded yourself in a family that has the same ideals as you do. Which, again, it really doesn't make any sense to want to be hateful towards something that sounds good. Better health is good, right? Affordable anything is good, right? And yet there are some people out there that will complain and call you a jackass for trying to ask for something as human as a place to live that's affordable and doesn't require you to work like half of your life away to be able to afford it. Maybe they're just angry and they're angry that they're in the same position, but they don't want anyone else to get the help, because then they'll be like, well, what about me? Where was my safety net? Look, I'm angry that I have to be in this too, but I'm trying to work towards getting out of it via drawing and doing a bunch of YouTube stuff. Also, I think you forgot about this. I'm trying to do something. You guys are sitting there and accepting that your dreams are all dead and buried. I ain't becoming Squidbilly. Not anytime soon. I'll keep drawing, and I'll even keep drawing through arthritis and the pain. I don't care how much it hurts. I'm going to keep it up until the nerve endings in my hand disappear and I can still do the thing. And even if I can't use my arm anymore, I'll just chop it off. Because, of course, in the future, I'd have to imagine there's, like, advanced cybernetic stuff. Get a cybernetic arm and have all the power of a cybernetic arm. And hope I'm as lucky as Adam Jensen and I don't suffer from whatever the hell the thing there is that your body rejects the technology. Can't remember what that was called. It's been a while since I've seen that series. Or played that series. Not really seen. You get what I mean. Okay, we've been at this for a solid 2 hours. I kind of expected this would take 2 hours as much. How much you want to bet I missed the texturing and shading of something here? Hard to say. There's a lot of things here. There's a whole lot of things here. Yep. I would say the only other thing that I would need to do here is this. Little bits of this, because it's like pieces of wood. Not all of it is kind of what do you call it? Most of it is. For fuck's sakes! Wonderful, great, fantastic. Let me just fix that real quick. All right, let me do that so I can see where I'm going. Well, I guess the long and the short of it is, people just don't like things. And when certain people don't like certain things, they are extremely violent towards that thing. Going so far as to go to some place that has a bunch of those things and shoot them up. It's sad, but this is the reality that we currently live in this country right now. I don't know if there's any easy way to fix this. You can't exactly make guns illegal. I mean, you can. It will help, like, at least prevent a few of those. But those unhinged and deranged enough will still get them one way or another. But it would still help. Or at the very least, regulate it. A mental health check would probably help as well. And I know there's 1,000 people out there who are like, oh, why are you trying to make it hard for me to get a gun? Bro, do you see all the psychopaths out there? It makes sense why they would want guns to be harder to get, because if they're hard to get, then the more tame psychopaths won't even attempt to try to do the bad thing that they're about to do. Don't get me wrong, I like guns too. I like shooting guns, I like games with guns, and I like swords. Those kinds of things I like. I like reading as well, and I like cats, but that's the more softer side of me. See, I am not a man, or at least a man in terms of their definitions. The more masculine, the toxin masculine type of man out there. I do whatever the hell I want, and I don't give a damn. Obviously. But yeah, my point still stands. I don't know what else we could do to fix it. The people who are in charge have that power. They need to figure that out. As for now, we'll just live every day like it's our last, I guess. That's what it's going to be like here. Sad, but it's the truth. Also, oh no, that's a bush. I thought that was a rock I was looking at. I could probably put more rocks in here, but if I decide to add more things, I'll do it later. So anyways, that's all for today. I'm going to work on the outline for a lot of the creatures in this particular area. But that's all for part 1, folks. So if you enjoyed thank you all for watching the first part of today's episode of Art Time. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe for more, check out that there playlist, and of course, previous episode of Art Time right over here, and the next part of today's episode right over here. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next episode. Later.